Hi, Casual Raccoon here, and today we sum up pre-release event for OP03 in One Piece card game. As you can see, I managed to win pre-release in my local game store. This is winner card with the stamp, the Vivi. And I will walk you through my deck, building process, why I built the deck this way, which cards I didn't choose and why, and overall coverage of the event. So the deck building was really straightforward. I knew from the start that the leader that I'm going to use will be used as Captain Kid. You probably know it already. You can once per turn pay freedom and then trash one card from your hand and set this leader as active. So it's one of the strongest finishers for the sealed format, because you always have one card in hand, because you draw it at the start of your turn. So every turn after 10 dawn is threatening for your opponent, because you can swing 2 times for 12k. At the start of the event we received 6 booster packs, and from the start the plan was to separate the cards into 3 groups, like I said in my previous video, pre-release guide. I started with 2k counters, nothing crazy here, just the usual ones. I opened only 4 of them, and all 4 of them were useful. 2k counters help to fight early aggression and also prevent our board, and in a limited format, when we don't have access to many of them, we take every single one of them. What is worth noting here is that 2k counters are mostly uncommon or rare characters, so it's really hard to open a lot of them. Because of that, our second group were blockers. I opened 10 of them and pick every single one of them. Blockers are mostly common and uncommon characters. Because of that, it's easier to defend yourself, especially in the mid and late game, with the characters that can take any damage and prevent you or your attacking characters from being attacked. The blockers that were the most important is obviously Bruno, that becomes a blocker when you attach one dawn to him, so you can decide if you want to swing for 7k or keep him as a blocker with dawn under him. And he's really important because if you manage to pick up any CP characters, like for example another blocker Fukuro, then you can replace Bruno with Fukuro when Bruno is KO'd. So you can play any CP character from your trash. So if you play for 3 dawns, Fukuro, block with him, he goes into trash, and then the following turn you block with Bruno, you bring him back, but rested. High value card, very important in every match. And as you can see, I was lucky enough to open, in my opinion, the best blocker in OP03, Fukuro. For 3 dawn, we have 3000 power blocker, also with a counter, so it's never a dead card. And it's not only a blocker, but also he cannot be KO'd by effects. Really important in a sealed format, but in a constructed as well. Overall, MVP, very strong card. Here I have one not really hidden pick, but something that I didn't consider as efficient as it was. It's Lim from Odyssey game, and she's a blocker, but also on opponent's turn, when she's KO'd, you can give one of your opponent's leader or character minus 2000 power during this turn. Very important card, very good in sealed, where we have limited removal or debuffing powers and our decks are not optimized. When you play her in a correct moment, you can really disrupt opponent's turn. The other ones are the standard blockers, 2 cost, but with counter, so not only we can play them to defend our characters on the field, but we can also use them for countering power. Next, the third group that I separated at the start are vanilla characters. And vanilla characters are important in sealed format because they have the best Dawn to power ratio, and each of them has 1000 counter, so never a dead card. Our beat sticks to say, but what's important for me is to pick the vanilla characters that have at least 5000 power, because we are playing Kit as our leader. We are not really interested in playing 2 cost vanilla characters or 1 cost vanilla characters, like for example Zoro, which can buff them quickly and make use of them. Sure, we want some of 2 cost characters to fill up our starting turn, but most of the time my first turn when going second was playing the blocker, and the following turn one of vanilla characters. Unfortunately, I didn't open too many of them, just 3 cost, 2 4 cost and 1 5 cost vanilla. So this was the starting pool of the deck. Pick all 2k counters, pick all the blockers, pick all the vanilla characters, and we have our base. After that, I wanted to fill the missing spots in our curve and then put in my deck as many useful characters, but also with the stats that can be relevant attacking the next turn. So any character with 5000 or more power was a consideration, or any useful effects like draw effect or KO effect. Here I would also like to mention events before we go into the characters with the effects, because I only played 3 events, but from the start I knew that I want to play them. The MVP, Fairy Doll, not only very strong effect for Kit, because for Tudon we are buffing him for 4000 power, so some of my finishing turns were to pressure the opponent with my beat sticks without Dawn investment or very little Dawn investment, and then out of nowhere buff Kit for 4000 power, swing, restand, finish the game. I was lucky enough to open 2 of them, and also the event that I didn't really hope to use much because it's only one of 40 cards, but actually I drew it almost in every match, and also very useful event, 2 cost minus 2 Dawn, and we can place up one of our opponent's character with a cost 4 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. So many games I just use it to get rid of some troublesome blocker, like for example Fukuro. He's 3 cost and he cannot be KO'd, but with this card we are moving him into the bottom of the deck. Very strong removal in this format. And then we can move to some utility characters to fill up the curve. Pudding, nothing special, just 1k counter, potentially turn 1 play if going first to search for some big man pirates, maybe a blocker, maybe other characters that you will see later, also 2k counter like Sanji, but had no occasion to use her. Another one, king of utility in the sealed format in my opinion, 2 cost, activate main, give up 1 rested dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. Didn't have occasion to play him much, but when he goes online, then every turn is much smoother. We put a lot of pressure and we don't really want to tap him. We just keep him standing and use the ability once per turn. Another 2 cost character, I consider him removal, Blamenko. When we attach 1 dawn, when attacking, give one of your opponent's characters minus 2000 power this turn. Very strong effect. We can pressure the hand size of our opponent and get some information in this way, because as we know from Otama already, minus 2000 power for the turn is a lot. And also decent stats to cost 3000 character. Here I have 3 cost characters, nothing really special from Curiel, just the rush character when we attach 1 dawn, but we cannot attack the leader, it's not a problem. I wanted him in case I have to surprise my opponent and clear something from the board. The turn he's played, and here my hidden pick, because I knew that some of the guys will be playing Zoro and not Kid, I was sure to pick everybody. I opened only 2 because he cannot be KO'd in battle by / attribute cards. So even if someone attacks him with Zoro, let's say, for 6k into 5k, I don't have to use any counter because they cannot KO him. Bonus point for the anime flavor on this card. Then I have just some other 3 cost characters. You see, they have in common that they don't have any counter, but they have the vanilla stat line. It was my another plan that if I don't open too many vanilla characters, then I will try to pick as many characters with the same stat line as possible, because I can always play them first on the board and keep vanilla in hand for the counter power. So as you can see, a lot of 3 cost 5000 characters in my deck. Then we move to 4 cost characters. From what we saw already, we had good stat lines, we had some useful minus effect or utility effect, but what I was lacking was some removal. That's why the next card used is Buchi and also Chu, because they both can KO one of your opponent's rested characters, Buchi 2 cost and Chu 4 cost or less. And then 5 cost characters, another form of removal here, Zeph. On play, you may return 1 character with a cost 3 or less to the owner's hand. Another form of removal. Not only KO is the removal, but as we know already from the Top Knot event, moving the card or returning the card into hand of our opponent is useful and gives us a lot of tempo. Here I pick him only for the 6k stat line. I prefer to pick up characters that have already 6000 power, because in sealed format, as you saw, you can be unlucky and don't open too many 2k counters. So I can swing every turn without any dawn investment to check if my opponent has any counters in hand and put a lot of pressure this way, but also read a hand very, very well and decide if then I maybe want to combo finishing swings with Kit. And here my unexpected pick. I opened her and I knew I want to put her in my deck, mostly because of the trigger, but also when you think about it, okay, in constructed 5 Dawn to draw 3 cards and trash 2 cards, so some hand filtering, but also netting 1 card plus is not the best, or rather you don't really want to do it, but if you happen to have Shirahoshi in your life and you trigger her, then it's just beautiful. And also it's never a dead card because of 1000 counter power. And actually one of the games I triggered Shirahoshi from my life. So it was devastating for my opponent because I could prepare myself for the following turn. And the last card in the deck, Roblucci. In my guide I suggested that Roblucci is not a good character to pick in the sealed format. Unfortunately, what you will see in a moment, I didn't open any better alternatives, so at the end of the day I ended up playing him in my deck, but never really played him on board. So nothing extra to say here, just a filler card. And now I will just show you shortly my other picks, or rather not picks, but the cards that I opened but didn't decide to play. You see they are without the sleeves, mostly 1 cost vanilla, 2 cost vanilla, or characters without any useful ability. Some events, but playing too many events is also a problem. Like 3 here that I picked is like optimal for me. The other ones, this one was interesting. Okay, this one I can speak shortly. I had 2 games where my opponents managed to use this card. One was from hand, so not really optimal, but once they triggered is turn 1 from life, and as you can see, if your opponent has 4 or more lives, then trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. Really strong effect if you are able to trigger it, and might give you a lot of tempo. And at the end, just 3 leaders that I opened. In sealed format, I don't like to open leaders because they take the slot from the card that I could actually play it. I was thinking a little bit to play Nami maybe, because we have smaller decks in sealed format, but it was too risky, so I stayed with Captain Kit. And yeah, that's it for today. Let me know in the comments how your pre-release went. Did you manage to win the winner Vivi, or are you going to maybe buy her online for collection? It's not an expensive card, but a nice trophy, nice memory. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Take it easy.